Hmm. Is my stream key wrong? Let's check that. No. Oh, I forgot to start the broadcast on there. There's too much to this. Just give me a key. All right, here we go. And I'm still not seeing it. Nope. Stream is going. Stream's going. Says I'm live. Yet. I don't see it. Oh well. All right. Well, hopefully Instagram catches up. I'm watching. Produce like a pro. Do you really need vintage mics? Are modern mics really that great? Okay, so spoiler alert. If you've watched anything I've done or are a member of the reality-based community, no, you don't need vintage mics. It's cool to have them. You know, there might be some history in there that's really cool. Remember where I worked, we had a matched quartet of M49s, like no joke. And, excuse me, still didn't need them. There wasn't, people think that there's some kind of super special magical unobtainium that these mics were made of back in the day that we can't figure out how to use now. And it's just not true. You can definitely get these things now. Let me see. I know Yellow Duck is saying that I'm live, but Instagram just isn't picking this up. What is that? Try it one more time. Sorry. Okay, copying a new stream key. Okay. Start broadcast. And that should be enough. I should be showing me as live right now without me even starting it up on OBS. I might just have to ignore Instagram. I tried, guys. I'm trying to make Instagram work, but I don't know. Same thing with TikTok. You know, I'm never. There's no way I'm ever getting the stream key for TikTok, right? Oh, now it's saying I'm live. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, so here we go. So this is, do you really need vintage mics? Are modern mics really that great? Yes, modern mics are that great. And it's not like we can't figure out how to make microphones that were made way back in the day. It's not like we're less technologically able than we were back then. So let me see what's going on. I think
Hey guys, it's Joe Carroll with Produce Like a Pro, and today I'm in Nashville, and we are recording.
I have no idea why this is. It's some kind of playing something. I don't know.
Okay, guys, so here's the deal. I know for a fact that me, Joe Carroll, are very hung up on model numbers. I'm very tied to things from the past. Numbers like 47, 67, 87 mean a lot to me. But maybe I think sometimes I hold them too precious. What I mean by that is I know for a fact in mix.
Always question your presuppositions, you know. I mean, it's true that mics all have different, pickup patterns, different EQ curves and stuff, and one might work better for another. But, to me, it's so important to have low noise, low distortion, and a decent frequency response. And then after that, the pattern that I want. It's not something magical. Like any magical frequency response a mic can make, I'm going to EQ it in anyway.
Mixing.
But it's good that he's asking.
I've tried new tools and new ways of thinking, and very often I find that I like those better than the way I was doing things in the past. So what if I change up my way of thinking on the tracking side of the glass? I do a lot of tracking, and I know for a fact I use a lot of technology that's based in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, which is awesome. Those microphones have been around a long time for a reason, because they are awesome. So whether the original Neumanns or AKG or Telefunken, whoever, they're amazing, and I don't want to take anything away from that. That's not the point. The point is, what if I open my mind to some new ways of thinking and some new model numbers that have no ties to the past? They're not, they're brand new products, brand new technology based on nothing but moving the needle forward and just getting the best sound that they can. And I put those in action on a tracking session. Yes, that may mean it takes a little longer to get drum sounds.
Yeah, I mean, what do we think? We think that with today's manufacturing capabilities, we can't make a flatter, quieter, less distorted mic than back in the day.
Some of them I may like better than what I was doing, and all of a sudden, I wish I had that microphone 10 years ago. And then there may be things where I like, I don't like that quite. It's great, but maybe I don't like it quite as much, and I want to stick with what I was doing before.
If you have a winning formula that always works for you, it's hard to change out of it. But if not changing out of that means you need to spend $20,000 on something that would have cost you $50, it's time to change.
But I'll never know unless I try it. So, and I know many
good open mind here. This is interesting. Not usually what you see with these type of people, right?
You guys are in the same boat. We get comfortable, we get in a rut, and we do the same things over and over. So I just wanted to shake things up, new way of thinking, try some things out, and here's what happened. All right, let's talk about what we did on the drums, because I was really excited with the way it turned out. Very happy. We'll start up here at the top. We have the Lewitt LCT 640 TS.
All right, look. How many videos have I done with like those cheap, craptastic $100 drum mic kits, and they sound, I don't know, to me they sound as good as anything anybody else recorded. So, and I know my comments kind of said the same thing.
This is a condenser mic. This is a solid state mic from Lewitt. This is kind of the flagship of their solid state FET mic line. Lots of bells and whistles, too many to even name at this time. But let's just focus on the way they sound on overheads. And they sound great. Very natural, very open sounding mics. Not really colored.
So what do you mean by open? Like what is that supposed to mean? Like what units do you measure open in?
Overly in any direction, just very natural and very open. They worked wonderful. They really did. Let's go to the next layer down. We have the Lauten LA120s. Again, these worked great. These are transformerless condenser mics, small diaphragm, of course, as you can see. And much like this, they have a lot of bells and whistles. So far, all the Lauten mics that I've received have a lot. Two different positions on the roll-offs on the top and the bottom, which is really cool.
And do we really need that, though? Do we care? Like, honestly, you really want to paint yourself into a corner with the high-pass and low-pass filters on the mic itself, rather than doing that with a much, much, much more powerful EQ that you have available on your DAW. I think a couple streams ago we had a situation where an engineer really didn't like the unfiltered bottom of a mic. So I could see you, if you know for sure you're going to be flipping that stuff out, fine. But I'm betting you'll find a better EQ curve in the DAW than what's available on the mic.
I may get those backwards, but I think it's 10 and 15,000 cycles on these. And then again, on the bottom end, I believe it was 50 and 150. And we were using the 150, and they have inline pads. right here that you screw in. And I really recommend, if you're going to be using these things on a drum set like I did, anywhere near, here, like what we did today, a ride cymbal and a hi-hat, I highly recommend using that pad because that snare
Yeah,
drum
look at that old 57.
and things are just so loud. But they sounded great, very, very, very natural, very, very crisp. I wanted to use the full frequency on the high end, just to get a flavor of how high the high frequency was. So when you play back the tracks, that's what you're going to be hearing. Let's go down one level here and look at the tom-toms. This guy was an absolute monster, just blown away with it. The Lauten Audio LS308. So this is a condenser, guys. This is I know it's shaped weird, but I'm a big fan. Anybody that follows me knows that I'm a huge fan of condensers on drums, on tom-toms. Not a lot of guys use those. They use 421s and some are, standards like.
Can't stand 421s on toms. I really like those like those side address, really skinny condensers. Who was making them? Like, I think not Stephen Paul. Somebody was Steve Albini, I think, was pushing some. And it's such a cool idea because you can really get them in close. And I do also love condenser mics on toms, but there is the cymbal bleed issue. Again, okay, so take a look when you really can see this kit, and you're going to see that I guarantee, I haven't actually checked this, but almost always when you look at a studio kit and a studio drummer, their cymbals are way further away from the toms than your average meathead drummer. It's got the inverse square law, right? So it makes a huge difference to have those the cymbals far away from the toms,
like 57s and things like that. As a drummer, I've never liked the sound of that. I don't like the attack of a dynamic mic on a tom-tom. It's just me because my ears want to hear the sound that I hear when I'm actually sitting behind a kit. And the very first time I heard a condenser mic on the drums, I was like, that's it. So for me, go-tos like 414s, FET 47s are just something that always work.
we used to always throw the
But
octave.
Daryl Thorpe, loves these things. Wanted to give him a try. And man, he is so right. They just sound enormous. Now, I know you see this positioning, and especially when you see the floor tom down here, you're going to be like, what? But trust me, this works. So what they say is raise them up a little bit, pull them back a little bit, and skim them over the top at about a 40-degree angle or so is kind of an optimum sound, which, I would have expected not to get a full resonant bottom end. And, oh my God, was I wrong?
I've never... I don't care what kind of mic it is, really, unless it's broken. I don't think you ever have trouble getting enough bottom out of a kick or a tom.
Resonance, bottom end, just fantastic. And I hate to go back up here, but these 640s, that's one of the things I should have mentioned. The toms sounded amazing in these. All the resonance and all the depth of the drum was portrayed very well.
So does he have those in cardioid?
That combined with the massive depth that I was getting off.
Say. Right, I didn't see him say it. Let me see. Lewitt 640. Oh, yes. You create any polar pattern after the fact because it's got two outputs. I mean, I'd rather do it at the mic, really. But let me see, actually. Lewitt 640. Is that the only 640? No, there's another 640. I don't know if this is the same 640 that he's showing. I think this is the one I was looking at, the 441 Flex. Yeah, so it had 8 polar patterns. Okay, anyway.
Off of these sounded great, but the people at Lauten tell me if you're getting too much depth, it's easy just to raise it up, and or pull it back a little bit and control your ratio of attack versus sustain. So that's a good little trick if you're going to check these out. But if you check these out, just remember You're not going to put them in over the drum and point them down like you would a 421 or a lot of other microphones. This positioning is somewhere in the ballpark of what you're going to want to do.
That looks very similar to the position you'd actually have a 421. If you really think about where the capsule is in that thing compared to where the capsule is on a 421.
So if we peek down here, that's the next thing we're going to talk about. We have the Lewitt DTP 640 Rex. DTP 640 Rex. That is a dual.
Now, is this a Lewitt? Is this sponsored by Lewitt? Let's look. I don't see it. I don't know if there was a disclaimer or whatever.
Diaphragm condenser mic, but also a dynamic mic. Again, dual diaphragms. Let's just pull it out here so you guys can get a look at it.
Yeah, remember AKG or no, Audio-Technica did something like that?
It's a very cool microphone because it's got different voicings built into it. So you got this little switch right here. First of all, you have a pad on this side. But on the other side, what I chose to do is leave it neutral. I just wanted to get to know the sound of the microphone in its raw form. But what you can do is take a little screwdriver and get down in there and change it to where on one of the capsules, the bottom end has some bump and some hype. Or you click it down another level and you have the bottom end with some pump and hype, but you also have an upper mid-range with some pump on it. So, you get a more modern, think of things like B52s or D112. So you get a more modern punchy sound, bigger sound. But I really just wanted to hear it raw. And I've got a feeling that it's really going to fit the mix for these guys on a lot of songs. They're just kind of organic in nature, and I felt like what it was doing in its raw state was really going to get the job done. Okay, let's talk about the snare drum a little bit. If you can get the camera right in here, I'll move the hi-hat out of the way. Okay, this is the Lauten Audio LS208. Now, it's a condenser mic, which is really cool because some of you know that dynamic mics sound great, just the good old 57, but sometimes a condenser does certain things better. Brushes and some of the hot rods and things like that, or just getting the snap if you're pointing at the strainer. And this is kind of the best of both worlds. It can handle the SPL of a dynamic mic, but it has some of the characteristics of a condenser. It's very cool. And like all other Lauten Audio mics, it's very full-featured on its filtering. So on the top, we can remove 2 different positions, or on the bottom, 2 different positions. For example, today I was using, it looks like the 50 cycles. Is that what that says? It's just so small. Yeah, I can't see it.
I'm still doing this.
It looks like 50 cycles on the bottom, and on the top I had it flat. But very, very happy with this. I'm anxious to hear it on maybe a jazz date even. I think that'll be a lot of fun to hear what it does on brushes. And you'll peek right over here at the corner. You'll see my ribbon microphone.
Holy crap. It's got a ribbon sitting there right on the side of the snare. Let me see something. Okay.
That I use as a little bit of a trick, where it's down here getting the lower part of the shell of the snare drum. And what's cool is this is a ribbon mic, right? So it's got high frequency roll off. But another thing that's cool, you got this big old hi-hat right here. Since it's a figure 8 pattern, the hi-hat is coming into its null point. So you wouldn't believe really the amount of rejection of the hi-hat I get. So I get this really strong foundation of the lower portion of the snare, which is the body and the strainer rattle, and the pointer, the beater of the kick drum, but it's pulled back far enough you wouldn't believe the bottom end I can get out of the kick drum this way too. So you run that through something like an 1176, and it's just, I call it a momentum enhancer, because you can hear all the subtleties of the snare drum in the mid-range that really propel the groove. It's a really cool thing. And this is the Cascade Gomez. Now on the bottom, I know I said I wasn't going to use anything traditional, but I only have one of these Lauten 208s. I really wanted, I would love to hear another one on the bottom. I think it would work really, really well. But just a good old 57, because that's what I had. So you'll have to forgive me for breaking my rule of not using any traditional mics. And on the drum rooms, I chose the Lewitt LCT 840. Now, this is a tube mic. And the reason is sometimes I just really like the sound of something like a U67, right? Pulled back for rooms. Just a great option.
Yeah, that recent Jim Little video where he had, be able to check between tubes and FETs and whatever. It was a tube operated in this linear range. In fact, I think it was a Lewitt where you actually chose that, and it like made zero difference.
M50s. There's a lot of great options, but what I like to do is a spaced pair, equally spaced from the kick drum in omni position. And the thing about the Lewitts that I found is that they're very natural, and I don't want to use the word transparent, but open enough to where I feel like I can see right through it, which is really cool in an ambient space. So I've used them, I think, like 3 times now on drum rooms. Loved it, and I've used them on a couple orchestral sessions.
Sorry. I'll finish this video later. I actually have to put out a